Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 487. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. For over 25 years, our next guest has achieved remarkable success in film production and has made significant contributions to the industry, including serving as a judge for some of Hollywood's most prestigious awards, such as the Emmy Awards, Academy Award, Oscars, New York Film Festival. She is founder and president of African American Women in Cinema Organization, Inc., AAWIC. Welcome, Terra Renee.
Welcome, Doctor. How are you?
I am fabulous. I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps? Share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and the organization that you are leading.
Oh, wow. Well, I think you've done a fantastic job. Well, over 20 years ago, we started what was supposed to be a one-time event called African American Women in Cinema. And that was born out of a need that was presented to me. I had no idea, very young and ambitious, and just wanted to do something. When the opportunity presented itself, then starting African American Women in Cinema was born. I just kind of want to give a little bit more insight. I think I want to share with your audience how that came really to be. I was about a day before graduating out of college and got bit by what I heard Jennifer Lopez say, the entertainment bug. But I didn't know specifically what I would be doing in entertainment. So I dibbled and dabbled in a few things, modeling, extra work. As a matter of fact, some of the extra work that I participated in, like, for example, Law and Order. My sister called me recently and said, "Hey, I saw you on Law and Order." But it wasn't until I got the call from a casting director who was hired by a major motion picture company. They were looking for a tall African-American actress who was not a size 0 for an under 5 role. And for your listener audience, under 5 role is under 5 lines. A lot of times that role don't even make it into the film. When I got to the audition site and saw about 1,000 women that fit the bill or was there to apply, I was just really shocked. And that just set off an array of things in me. First of all, I saw in real time the lack of opportunities for women of color. It was from that moment that I decided to take some form of an action. And I went and wrote a screenplay and just basically said, I got to create roles for women. I got to create an opportunity for women of color. And it was from that point that I met someone and we discussed this whole newfound calling. And it was one suggestion, well, why don't we do a program that will highlight what you're looking to do? I said, okay, and I'll call it African American Women in Cinema. And when it was launched, all these women from everywhere showed up. And I said, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that was the start of African American Women in Cinema. And it grew from just a one-time event, highlighting the process of filmmaking, to a full-blown nonprofit organization in which we do partnerships with other organizations and provide screening opportunities for our members, educational opportunities for our members, and both here in the United States as well as out of the country. So we were recently in Africa. We showed films in England. So just that one push from an audition led to this.
That is amazing. And thank you for sharing backstory. So you've seen a lot of ebb and flows in the
Hmm.
industry.
Yes.
And I want you to speak specifically about, we've heard a great deal about what's going on in the industry in Hollywood. From
Hmm.
at one point, we're the flavor of the day, another point, we're not
Hmm.
the flavor of the day. Talk about that specifically. And then I'll ask you another question around pay and opportunity.
Hmm. Yes. So that's good. That's an excellent question. The Black girl magic, it one never knows when it's ushered in, but we do know when it's present, and to really take advantage of that opportune time. The ebb and flow, that is a perfect description. So while we're in the flow mode, we move forward. And then it just, sometimes the flow just stop. I think that we might be on the cusp of another flow due to the fact of what's going on in the political landscape. So those who are listening, this is kind of a clarion call to get ready. Get ready, because it appears a whole new season is coming in. It's just being in tune and being prepared and having the knowledge on how to navigate once the flow is here, and so that way you'll be in full position to take advantage of the opportunity. And truthfully, Dr. Richards, it's like anything in this life, just an entertainment, because it tends to be so fluid. You never know what will trend and what won't. You don't know what audience would what the audience would gravitate to and what they would gravitate to next. But I believe that we are on the cusp of another flow. And again, we never know when these type of seasons show up, but when they are present, it's truly time to take advantage of the opportunity.
Let's talk about you starting the nonprofit. What is something you wish you knew that you didn't know before
Mm,
starting your nonprofit?
great, great, great question. How to really vet more when you bring in people on. Now, as a people person, I absolutely love people. I really do. While that's a good trait to have, at times, the downside for me was, I'm a little better now, was that I would ignore red flags because I was just so excited of the opportunity of working together. This is the vision. This is what is needed. Let's get on board. A lot of times, Doctor, what I had found out was while that was true of me, there are other hidden motives that other people have, and not necessarily excited about your vision, but what can they get out to benefit. And it's not about holding someone back that they cannot benefit. I always look for win-win situations, but it becomes problematic when they're willing to sacrifice what they're supposed to be doing in order to try to get what they believe they want. And that becomes very problematic. So I wish I had a little bit more foresight to vet a little bit more. But now I believe that everything happens for a reason. I had to learn it at that stage, and I'm grateful for those lessons. So that's certainly one thing that I wish I would have known way, way in advance.
Are you talking about the vetting in terms of hiring people, or are you talking about, or are you talking about the vetting in terms of mentorship and relationships? Can you go a little bit more in depth with that?
Yes, in hiring people, because what I come to understand is that when you are coming forth with a vision that has a revolutionary element to it, all hands have to be on deck, but it has to be the right hands. because what will end up happening is you're pushing forward, but they won't be pushing forward. They will be pulling sideways, pulling backwards. You know, you're like, what?
Standing still.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately would make it much harder than what it actually need to be. I mean, it's already not an easy road, but then they bring the extra. So yes, that's correct.
And I'm wondering, as a small business, emerging
Mm-hmm.
business, and we know even with large corporations today, there
Mm-hmm.
is a talent challenge, finding
Yes.
good talent, finding people that's committed to the vision that's going to actually work. So I'm speaking specifically as an emerging business, African American business. When we talk about vetting more, is our
Mm-hmm.
hesitation on, are we just happy to get someone to help
Mm-hmm.
versus, or do we feel like, depending on where we're at in
Mm-hmm.
terms of raising capital, that maybe we can't afford top talent? Do you find that has any bearing in our vetting process?
Yes, it does. It does. When you're in the arts, you're quote unquote going against the grain on some level, because a lot of the times that's not really encouraged as a real position or real career, if you will. You're taken quote unquote much more seriously if you're studying to become a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor. I'm of the belief that that's changing to a certain degree. So as a result, you are not in position to really attract, like what you're stating, top talent, because it's going to cost you. And really, as a startup, you just don't have the means. You really don't. And the needs that you have sometimes are so great because it takes a lot to really execute something that is marketable. And being in the media, imagery is everything. You know, what people see, that's presentation is everything. Yes, that all of that has a bearing, and sometimes just out of just sheer necessity. Oh, that's the person that they're available. Okay. Oh, what's your name? Okay, great. Let's do this. And then you find out, oh my gosh. So that's very, very true. That is true.
Tara, what is your zone of genius?
Oh, wow. And I should know the answer. I was asked this the other day. It is so interesting how I focus on everyone else, doctor, and not myself as it relates to some of these types of questions. But I would like to venture and say that the ability to connect with people across all walks of life and find that common ground and look to encourage them to move forward in their giftings, talents that they've been given. I appreciate that question.
Thank you. I want you to have a monologue.
Mm,
I want you to name this person, living or not.
mm,
They have inspired you so much. Who is
mm-hmm.
that person and what are you saying to that person?
Well, I would say to them, first of all, I would express my gratitude for being the example of knowing that I could too make it in this world, irregardless of how difficult it can get at times. And so just basically thanking them for that. And also for them being such a shining light and paving a way that can serve as a blueprint for what I am looking to do. As an entrepreneur, many, many times there is not a clear pathway. You are really learning as you go. And that's why there tends to be a lot of trial and error. And for the person who is inspiring me in this light, a big thank you for helping to eliminate some of that trial and error just by the way that they have gone forward and set an example. That's what I would say. That's what I would say.
Who is the person that you're talking to?
Well, believe it or not, one of my biggest inspirations is Dr. King. Every single time when life be lifing and it just seemed like it is impossible to put one foot in front of the other, I just look at some of the videos that I have of Dr. King and that whole era and that time frame that he was in and how he just moved forward. And that just gives me so much inspiration. Yes, we still have a lot going on here, but it was not at the level physically like Dr. King during his time. I said, well, if he can power through and effect change, I certainly can put one foot in front of the other. So it is to him, well, certainly God, and also him that I am just grateful that he have provided such an example of endurance and perseverance, because you need those elements if you're going to be an entrepreneur. It's just no way around it. No way around it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so my gratitude is definitely big when it comes down to someone like him.
And you talked about impact. How do you make impact daily?
That's a great question. Well, I found out something the other day. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and right in the middle of our conversation, she paused and she said, I just have to share this. I have to tell you this. You are making impact out here. I said, really? She said, yes, you are. Now, not realizing I impacted her life. That's why she's saying it. And I believe when you walk in your God-given purpose for your existence, God will make a way for someone to see that and be impacted by that on some level. If it's inspiration or encouragement, well, if she can do it, I believe I can do it. Sometimes in conversation, when I'm talking to people, I would hear something to the effect of, wow, I really need to hear that. That really helped me today. And I'm not even thinking in those veins at all. I'm just thinking, I heard someone say, I'm regular. I'm thinking I'm being regular and not even realizing that I'm truly impacting someone's life. And that's through the power of God. When you walk in the way that he have ordained you to, and these God moments, I call them, that enable you to do it, even with you not knowing, without your permission, you're doing it. That's been my experience, and it continued to be that on a more consistent basis, I find as I go further into this pathway.
We're going to step back a moment, even from the time when you said like a day before graduation and how this path found you. And I'm going to connect it when you talked about that God-given purpose for your mere existence. And so many people are searching for that, my purpose. Why am I here? Why was I not aborted? Why was I not killed? What is my mere existence? How do you find that purpose?
Well, for me, it's really, to be honest with you, it's my faith. It's me spending time in prayer. I have times where I just set aside where I am, well, some people may call it meditating, and that's fine. But I'm in prayer, I'm reading the Bible, and when I do those type of activities, it really bring clarity, and I have a more deeper insight as to what some may call divine direction. Once I'm able to see that, I embrace it and then begin to walk in it. A lot of times, sometimes people are kind of shy to talk about it or they don't want to acknowledge it. But for me, it plays a very strong role in my life because of the dynamics that exists in this world. I need divine support, if you will, to help me follow the path for which I've been created for. And I just found that to be just a powerful force that I continue to embrace on a daily basis. So that's how I am able to walk in what I believe is my divine purpose for my existence.
And thank you for being so authentically you. And 100%, I honor and respect that. And as a believer, as a Christian, and I know that we're in a season that people don't want to hear that. But I think you got to, you are, and you got to definitely stand up. And so thank you for sharing that. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.
Tara, what problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
That's a great question. I know we have a time frame, but I tell you, if I start listing, we'll be here till next week. Well, one of the things that I saw when I went to Africa, I had the great opportunity to go to an orphanage, and it's ran by two nuns. One, at the time I was there, was 80 years old. To see these beautiful children, really helpless, they're totally relying on these nuns and any support that they could gather for them. It was just, if I could have built 100-bedroom house and house them, I would. I would. Problems that exist, that's kind of like my segue into what I see. There's hunger, there's so much lack across the board, finances, education, just support, just human support into helping one become its best version of themselves. I wish I could end hunger, to be honest with you. I wish I could cure cancer. I wish I could stop sex trafficking. I wish I could love on everybody that needs to be loved and encouraged and help them understand that they are so valuable. I wish I could do those things, but I can only do what God's given me to do, and I'm going to do my best at it.
That's beautiful. Talk about your top two influencers and what lessons did they teach you?
Well, I would like to go back to Dr. King. And I tell you, I didn't get this till recently when he talked about how love is greater than hate and how powerful of a force love truly is. And I said, that is so true because hate, it spirals down, is very destructive. And in the end, it accomplishes nothing. But love, it is a superseding power that really has the ability to transform. And I never saw it that way until I heard him say it again. I'm so inspired by that. And yet that is a lesson because hate has such an energy to it. It's debilitating, I think, in a way, is limiting. And if you engage in a lot of that, I think that you would certainly be a candidate to impede your own progress in life. That's what I'm learning. I'm seeing. I think Dr. King, certainly he said many, many things, but I'm so grateful that I'm able to glean from him what is needed for me to learn, value, and appreciate. And certainly the endurance and perseverance, because a lot of times when God gives you a vision, he just gave you the vision. A lot of people around you don't see the vision. What are you doing? This don't make any sense. Perseverance and determination becomes your best friends. And you have to really hold their hand as you're going about executing God's will in this earth. So Dr. King and also Josephine Baker, I recently produced a short film about her, just one aspect about her life. I mean, this one was amazing. I first saw her when I was a young girl, and I was so impressed because prior to that, my mother made sure that we knew a lot about our history. And I mean, in all forms, doctor, all forms. So we had books, we saw the films, the autobiography of Jane Pittman, Roots, and all these things. And so for right before I saw a video, just a short clip of Josephine Baker, I think I just got finished seeing Roots. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. How can we make it? And then boom, Josephine Baker was like, what? Wow. Oh, we can. That woman, I was just so blown away because she was just unapologetically Black and just talented. And yes, I am the boss. And I don't care if you don't like it because the color of my skin, you got the problem, not me. It was like, wow, that was so bold. So her courage, I mean, granted, she went to France and had to for many reasons, but in a strange land where she didn't initially speak the language, she powered through all of that and became this global icon that we're still talking about today. I mean, this is over 100 years later and we're still talking about her. I'm definitely inspired by that. And what she taught me was don't even focus on what you have no control over, but just go where you can move and express what God has given you, and you go to the 10th power. And that's what I embraced from her. That's what I learned from her.
When you talk about appreciation and gratitude, I have what I call a thank fest. I want you to thank people and situations
Mhm.
that has impacted your life. Have at it.
Maya Angelou. I never knew she didn't go to college. Never knew that. Alice Walker. That was a breakthrough. Ooh, that was powerful. How she wrote she wrote many things, but The Color Purple, I mean, the way it manifests in this rim, powerful. Angela Bassett, I love her. She pours into the character. You can feel it. So I admire her strength for that. Oh my goodness, Doctor, I can go on and on. These are just the top ones that come to me immediately in what they brought in this realm. In some cases, continue to bring. Gregory Hines, loved him. He was just multi talented and just expressed it all, a lot of it.
Terra, you had the opportunity to work on many projects and many
Mm-hmm.
films. We know that in this time, we won't be able to do a service to all of them. Why don't you shed light on a few projects that really stand out that you've worked on and why?
Well, Dear Josephine is the documentary that we did about Josephine Baker, just highlighting the dancing aspect of her talent. We wanted to show the young people today that someone back then expressed their talent and what type of impact that they had and influence in their time. And a lot of young women gravitated towards it. And I was so happy about that. I also did executive produce a documentary on the legendary Marion Williams. She was Mahalia Jackson's contemporary. She sang with the very popular group back in the 50s, the Clara Ward Singers. And then she branched out on her own. And before she made her transition, she became the first gospel female singer to be granted the MacArthur Genius Award, which is quite an accomplishment. And then she received honors from President Bill Clinton at the Kennedy Honors. And then another project that I worked on was the Alfredo Versace story. And a lot of us know about Johnny Versace, but we did not know about Alfredo, who came out before Johnny. And his story was just so moving. And I'm glad that he shared such a story, because a lot of times what I find is that people have ideas of what they believe success should look like. And a lot of times it does not pan out that way. As a result, many become disheartened. And so it was so important for me to work on this project because Mr. Versace really talked about his pathway in detail. And I was just blown away. So these are some of the projects that I've worked on that I believe, when seen, my desire is that it would either inspire, certainly educate those who, would like to learn more, and then hopefully encourage anyone who sees these projects. Number one, that you can make it. Number two, don't allow success to bring any form of delusion, because you're going to have to deal with some things on the way. And even while you are maintaining, if you will, you're going to have to deal with some things. So those are some of the few projects right off the top that I've worked on.
What's next for you?
Whoa. I have a variety of projects. Well, right now, Dr. Francis, we are hosting an online virtual film festival, which is called the Black American Cinema Film Festival. It will run till September 8th. And the reason why we're doing this, even though we have our own film festival that we normally do in March, honoring Women's History Month, a colleague of mine, associate, went to the mayor in Saint Denis, France, and said, the Olympics is happening here, the Paralympics is happening. We need to do some extra activities to highlight African Americans and their contributions to entertainment, as well as highlight the athletes of the African diaspora. And the mayor agreed. Then I got the call, can you do a film festival during the Olympics and the Paralympics? I said, what? We just got finished doing ours. So I don't know about that. And then I thought about it. I said, this is a very historic opportunity to be able to say that the mayor from France is in agreement and would love to have some extra activities going. I said, okay, we never had this happen before. Let's do it. So right now we are having that until September 8th. I believe that's the last day for the Paralympics. And then we're looking to host a couple of film screenings for the remainder of this year. And there's possible collaborations with other organizations that we are in talks with now. So your audience will have to visit our website to get some updates as we go along. but that is certainly one thing that they can engage in right now, the online film festival. And we have some incredible films, Dr. Francis, that's participating. We have a filmmaker who's actually a real ambassador, and she decided to make a film. She calls it the September the 11th Unsung Heroes. And these were the Black 9/11 telephone operators who were taking calls from people right before they perished during 9/11. That was wow. And then we have a film that's dealing with colorism, which is amazing because this filmmaker got both sides, well, a lot of sides into that and really shed some serious, serious insight. We have a film, it's not a documentary, but what we call in the film world a narrative. So an actress who plays Eartha Kitt and talks about some of the beginnings of her life, which I had no idea it was really, really rough for her. And then it also includes an exclusive interview with the only daughter of Louis Armstrong. He spent some time in France, and also an interview with gymnast Wendy Hilliard. So the audience will be in for a treat. That's just some of the films that we are screening, but we're really, really excited about it.
Terra, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
Wow. That's a great exercise. I guess I can ask this question. I think I kind of answered already, but I can still hone in deeper. What keeps you encouraged? And what keeps me encouraged in spite of all of the obstacles, and they are many, is the fact that I truly believe, Dr. Francis, I am doing the will of God. And when I have that as my anchor and my focus, I'm able to push because I know that is serving a greater purpose way far than what I can see. And since I've been put here to do that, that's what I want to do.
Thank you for that. We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Rapid Round of Fun. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Rapid Round of Fun?
Okay.
What is your favorite comfort food?
Oh, mac and cheese.
The last movie you saw?
Believe it or not, it was the Planet of the Apes.
You relax doing what?
Laying on the beach.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Oh boy. My favorite singer is Kim Burrell.
Your favorite dance song?
The pass on that one.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Kale.
Work out or hit the couch?
Work out.
Terra, Renee, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you. Feel free to leave all your social media handles.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you can certainly visit the website African American Women in Cinema, which is www.AAWIC.org. That stands for African American Women in Cinema Organization. Our social media, Facebook is AAWIC International. Our Twitter is AAWIC_, and our TikTok is AAWIC. You can also reach us if you want to send an email to info@aawic.org. And you can also drop me a line as well at that email address.
Thank you, Terra. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.